All right. Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. Hold on. Okay. We gotta do this quick because I'm sucking in. I state your name.
I, Speech of Ravi Bhalla,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
and justly perform
perform
all the duties of
all of the duties of
Mayor for the City of Hoboken
Mayor for the City of Hoboken
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Speech of Ravi Bhalla,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Today, and I'm proud to call you not just my senator, but a colleague and a friend. Thank you to my good friend Jerry Bacon for encouraging me to enter the public square in Hoboken when I was a young attorney in my mid-20s. I could not have asked for a more fitting MC for today's ceremonies. And thank you to the members of the faith community for your spiritual guidance today and every day. Thank you, Dr. Johnson and the Board of Education for graciously hosting today's events and for your leadership in educating and shaping the minds of Hoboken's young students. Thank you today to Senator Brian Stack, United States Senator Robert Menendez for your remarks, your leadership, and your commitment to public service in our county, our state, and our country. And congratulations to the newly sworn members of the City Council, Emily and Vanessa. I look forward to working with you in the coming years, and I look forward to continuing the work we began together. And thank you, Jim, for all the work we've done in the past as well. I appreciate it. And to my former colleagues on the City Council, although I'll miss seeing you every other Wednesday night, I am committed as ever to our partnership and the great work we'll do together working as a team. Thank you to the countless people that volunteered on the campaign, the door knocking, the phone calls, the events that were instrumental in getting us here. This is truly a community-wide effort, and I thank each and every one of you for your time and dedication. And most importantly, to my family, Vidya, Marza, Shabaid, my parents, my brother Amardeep, sister-in-law Dilpreet, thank you. Your willingness to support me in this endeavor, while yourselves working so hard in this election, means more to me than words can even describe. For the Bhalla family, elections are always a family affair, and this one was no exception, so I am deeply grateful. And I must give a very, very special thank you and express my gratitude to Mayor Dawn Zimmer. Without Mayor Zimmer's guidance, hard work, and persistence, I would not be standing here today. Mayor Zimmer, over your decade of public service in Hoboken, it's truly incredible and historic what you've accomplished. I speak on behalf of thousands of residents in saying how grateful we are to your service to our city. Our gratitude to you remains close to our hearts and will not be forgotten. So thank you, Mayor Zimmer. Now, although I was born and raised in New Jersey, I actually never heard of Hoboken until my early teens. Unfortunately, my impression of Hoboken was not a good one, my first impression. As a teenager in the 1980s, I heard about a hate movement in Hudson County and against Asian Indians known as the Dot Buster movement. Indians in Jersey City and Hoboken were being subjected to assaults and other forms of harassment simply because of their race. Indian Americans were being beaten, verbally harassed, and physically abused on the streets throughout Jersey City and Hoboken. The rising tide of hate and bigotry culminated with 3 incidents, all occurring in close succession in the month of September of 1987. The first case involved Saeed Hassan and Vikas Agarwal from the Stevens Institute of Technology on September 12, 1987. Saeed and Vikas left the Stevens campus to go to East LA, a restaurant at 5th and Washington, a restaurant we all know and love here in Hoboken. At the scene, Vikas was punched and struck in the face with a metal bar. Saeed had managed to escape, but Vikas collapsed to the ground on Washington Street, brutally injured while his assailants chanted racial epithets at him. Exactly 2 weeks later, on September 27th, an Indian American physician, Kaushal Sharan, was nearly killed in a motivated attack on Central Avenue in Jersey City Heights. Dr. Sharan was beaten with a baseball bat, going unconscious, suffering from multiple skull fractures. The third incident came only 3 days later, on September 27th, involving Navroz Modi, a Cal Berkeley grad, coincidentally just like myself, who came to Hudson County, just like myself, to take a job at Citibank in New York City. On this fateful day, Navroz encountered youths who began taunting him right here at the intersection of 9th and Willow in Hoboken, which is just outside this auditorium, only a block away from where I stand before you today. Navroz was then assaulted by teenagers with blunt objects, including bricks. After Navroz fell to the ground, unconscious, he was taken to St. Mary's Hospital, where he passed away a few days later. Reaction to this incident from Hoboken and Hudson County political leaders, along with Indian community groups, including YAR, Youth Against Racism, was truly inspiring. South Asians mobilized to bring about official recognition of hate crimes and civil rights violations that can potentially affect anyone. And they approached one of our own, U.S. Senator Robert Menendez, then a state assemblyman for the 33rd Legislative District, who stood up to hate by sponsoring the first anti-hate crime legislation in New Jersey. Then Assemblyman Menendez was joined that summer in 1988 by Hoboken's own assemblyman at the time, Bernard Kenny, who joined Assemblyman Menendez at the steps of the Hudson County Courthouse to introduce the anti-hate crime bill. The intense and relentless efforts by the Indian community for passage of the Menendez-Kenny anti-hate bill resulted in bipartisan support by both Democrats and Republicans, garnering nationwide attention, including a particular interest by gay rights groups, who asked that gay Americans also be protected by this legislation as well. Now, at this point, unfortunately, Republicans actually withdrew their support for inclusion of an amendment that would protect both gay Americans and the Indian community. The Indian community was left with a choice: to accept the bill as it is, which would protect themselves but not gay Americans, or to drop the bill. It was a true act of selflessness and solidarity back in the late 80s that the Indian community, confronted with this choice, refused to advance this bill that would protect their own racial interests because they felt it was morally wrong to refuse to support the gay community as well. As a result, that bill did not pass in 1989, but fortunately, the next year, the new legislature came into office and the Menendez-Kennedy bill was revised and strengthened in many ways, including a provision for the inclusion of bias crimes based upon sexual orientation. On August 9, 1990, Governor James Florio signed this historic bill into law, stating, quote, "This legislation says something about who we are and the ideals to which this state is committed." The New Jersey law served as a national model for state and federal anti-hate laws across the country. And it all began right here in Hoboken. While the death of Rose left a deep psychological scar on the Indian community, the response from New Jersey's leaders and Hoboken's leaders to stand up to hate rather than remain silent is a truly Hoboken tale, untold until today, that informs what this city is about and why I am so proud to call it my home. And what a long way we've come. Nearly 30 years after Rose's brutal death, just blocks away from where I live, Hoboken has elected an Indian and a Sikh American as mayor. This past election was a model of diversity, showcasing New Jersey and America, for New Jersey and America, a city that cares less about who you love, where you came from, what your gender is, where you worship, than they care about your ability to take on the challenges ahead for our city. So while the mark of the moral universe may be long, there is no doubt that here in Hoboken, it bends firmly towards justice. In honor of Navroz Modi, earlier today, as my first act as mayor, I signed an executive order designating Hoboken a fair and welcoming city. This order is intended, among other things, to reflect the values of our community and to affirm our beliefs as Americans that we are all equal and entitled to dignity and respect, no matter our immigration status. And this is only the beginning. People often ask me, what exactly are your main priorities for Mayor's Hoboken? What do you intend to do in your first year? I'd like to share just a few. First, now, while this may not be exciting, I firmly believe that residents expect from municipal officials to get the core functions of local governance right. That means everything from paved roads and clean sidewalks, trash collection, traffic management, pedestrian safety, fiscal responsibility, snow plowing during winter storms, and the like. There's no Democratic or Republican way to fix a pothole, as they say. There's no ideological way to run an effective and efficient local government. But this is the bare, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bare minimum that is expected of local. Getting this right is my #1 priority. To that end, I announce here today that I will be opening an Office of Constituent Services right here at City Hall in the coming weeks, which is solely dedicated to providing efficient and enhanced local government and constituent services to Hoboken's residents. This will be a fully staffed office near the entrance of City Hall, which will be open during and after business hours, so all Hoboken residents have a place to ask for help. No matter the problem, big or small, residents should turn to City Hall knowing that we are here to help. many of you have heard me say on the campaign trail, I plan on being Hoboken's infrastructure mayor. While there are many infrastructure challenges ahead, the restoration of Washington Street, to me, is #1 and paramount. We must return it to the glory of its past as a bustling hub of commercial activity, safely enjoyed by pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists alike. Let me repeat, I am fiercely committed to getting Washington Street done as soon as possible. Third, last December saw the annual return of the so-called SantaCon bar crawl. I find it completely unacceptable for people to come into Hoboken put our police officers and emergency management personnel in harm's way, obstruct the ability of local businesses to thrive during the busiest retail season of the year, and prevent residents from safely carrying on daily life. All this at the expense of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money for no purpose other than to enrich the profits of a few bar owners. So as mayor, I will not let a commercial enterprise like SantaCon, Leprechaun, or whatever con ruin our city for a day or even an hour. To address this issue, I am hereby forming a task force comprised of police, fire, emergency management officials who, together with local business leaders, will develop and execute a plan and strategy within the first 100 days of my office to put this menace to an end once and for all. Finally, a major priority for me is managing urban growth to ensure that it is preceded by infrastructure improvements and in a way that retains the small town feel that makes Hoboken so special. Mayor Zimmer has laid the foundation for Hoboken's future by securing aid for Rebuild by Design through the passage of the Hudson Rail Yards and Western Edge Redevelopment Plan and the Southwest Redevelopment Plan. Hoboken's economic future is bright. We are a booming and potentially limitless city, but it must be managed responsibly and the interests of our residents as our singular priority. These wonderful projects will be anchored by our final frontier in Hoboken, the North End, which has remained in a blighted state for decades. Under the Bhalla administration, this will be no more. We will develop and implement a historic vision for the North End, which will create jobs, spur economic growth, incorporate mass transit infrastructure, and have a lasting impact on the face of Hoboken for generations to come. In closing, I'm reminded by my father, seated right in front of me, just a few feet of me here today. My father began this journey to America as a young immigrant from India in the mid-60s. My dad landed at JFK Airport, and he was driven to a car to Pennsylvania to begin his studies at Penn State University. My dad tells me the story of how, when he approached campus, the person driving him there said that before arriving on campus, he must stop at a barber shop. A barber shop? My father said. Why? His friend said that you need to remove your turban and cut your hair before any of the students see you on campus. Essentially, he was being told that he must make a choice. He must sacrifice his articles of faith in order to succeed in this country. My father made that fateful decision not to do this because when he came to this country to seek the American dream, which to him meant that there was no conflict between how you worship and your ability to succeed if you work hard in American life. My father resisted that choice that former Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall called, quote, that cruel choice. And Thurgood Marshall used that word cruel. He said that cruel choice between your religion and your livelihood that no American should have to make. Yes, the fact that he went on to live the American dream with his articles of faith proudly intact is what this country is all about. And I would not be the person I am standing here today as the first Sikh mayor in New Jersey's history, but for my father's faith in the promise of our country. For that, Dad, I thank you, and most importantly, I thank the citizens of Hoboken for the privilege to lead the city to even greater heights. And as Frank Sinatra, our favorite son, once said for Hoboken, I truly do believe that our best days are yet to come.
Now, for our closing prayer, I'd like to call upon Rabbi Robert Scheinberg of